The House for advisory extent.
Without objection.
This afternoon, the House will debate extension of the Patriot Act. I have here a report from the LATimes.com that says that FBI intelligence investigations have compromised the civil liberties of American citizens far more frequently to a greater extent than was previously assumed. The report goes on to say that in 2007, the Justice Department's Inspector General told Congress the FBI may have violated the law or government policy as many as 3,000 times since 2003 in the course of secretly collecting telephone, bank, and credit card records without warrants, instead using so-called national security letters that give them the ability to demand this kind of information and get it. The Patriot Act is a destructive undermining of the Constitution.
To see the path that we're headed down in terms of the Patriot Act. And I was here in the Congress, as the presiding officer knows, when we voted almost 10 years ago on the Patriot Act. And it was a sad occasion then because it was right after 9/11. And this horrible thing had happened to our country. But we rushed in a very, very big way to move forward with a piece of legislation. It was the so-called Patriot Act, and that act ended up being something that I think many of us and many of us regret. And I just want to read a short passage from the Washington Post at the time, which I think showed the haste in which we acted and where we infringed on our constitutional rights. And I think the Post really says it all. The Washington Post noted, quote, "Members of both parties complained they had no idea what they were voting on, were fearful that aspects of the bill went too far, yet voted for it anyway," end quote.
If your home was being searched without your knowledge, your private conversations monitored and recorded, your every move tracked and stored, would you feel violated? These are the questions many Americans have asked in regard to the Patriot Act, which was passed in 2001 and reinstated in 2006. The Patriot Act allows law enforcement officials to obtain a search warrant anywhere terrorist or domestic terrorist activity is suspected. It also increases the penalties for those who commit terrorist acts. The Act also widens the surveillance powers of the National Security Agency. Our Fourth Amendment specifically states that we can't be searched unless there's probable cause. Michael Hayden, the former director of the National Security Agency and the former director of the CIA, gives us his interpretation of the Fourth Amendment.
My understanding is that the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution specifies that you must have probable cause to be able to do a search that does not violate an American's right against unlawful searches and seizures.
Actually, the Fourth Amendment actually protects all of us against unreasonable search and seizure.
But
that's what it says.
The measure is probable cause, I believe.
The amendment says unreasonable search and seizure.
But does it not say probable?
No.
The court standard, the legal standard,
search and seizure.
the legal standard is probable cause.
Just to be very clear, okay, and believe me, if there's any amendment to the Constitution that employees of the National Security Agency are familiar with, it's the Fourth, right? And it is a reasonableness standard in the Fourth Amendment.
To quote the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution of the United States in its entirety, the one the General and the NSA folks are so familiar with and know is about reasonableness and not about probable cause, quote, "The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. No warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized."